Ganyu, our quiet and reserved, half-Qilin adeptus from Liyue, will be the main character for today's video, focusing on her roles, builds and priorities, synergies, as well as useful mechanics that Ganyu players should make use of to maximize her potential. So why should you use Ganyu? First of all, a recent rerun banner featured Ganyu and you're most likely watching this video cause you got her there. She's one of the best cryo on-field DPS in the game currently, and boasting both strong single target and AoE damage. Although she is a bit lacking in the defense department and most of the time gets one-shotted by everything and anything in the 12th floor of the Abyss. While most of the time you'll just be shooting the floor with a bloom shot, hoping to kill something from a mile away, especially when you're playing on mobile, she's still very fun to play, especially for players who like seeing big numbers and killing mobs in less than 3 seconds while still feeling good about yourself whenever you hit those sweet weak points. For talent priorities, of course you mainly want to focus on upgrading her normals as a main DPS, as most of her damage output comes from it in the form of charge attacks. I believe it's worth using a crown on her normals too, as her charge attacks hurt a ton. Her elemental skill makes her evade and throw out a flower, which stuns enemy aggro, letting you get a free charge attack in. It also gives 2 instances of energy generation, 1 for every hit it does. You don't really need to upgrade her elemental skill, but I still upgraded mine to level 6 for the extra HP so it can taunt enemies for longer. Her burst marks a field with a large circle and enemies inside the field get hit with homing icicles, dealing large damage. The field also stays even if Ganyu goes off field, so it's also a good sub-DPS damage tool. Her burst is your main priority for support, but will still be upgraded regardless if you're using main DPS or support Ganyu, as it helps on-field cryo with these DPS outputs as well as her own, while still being able to dish out superb damage on its own. Her passive talents help out with her crits, and that's because of her Ascension 2 passive, Undivided Heart, which gives her extra 20% crit rate on her level 2 charge attacks for 5 seconds after firing one. Her Ascension 4 passive, Harmony Between Heaven and Earth, makes her burst grant 20% cryo damage bonus to active members within its AoE, which is a massive boost in DPS for cryo characters in the team. For a main DPS build, you mainly want to strive for a crit rate of equal to or higher than 50%, as she can get a bit inconsistent with her crits, especially outside of freeze comps. Generally, you want a crit damage of about 140% or higher, but please do strive for whatever's the highest you can get. Of course, don't neglect your EM and attack stats, as they are still very important for a main DPS Ganyu. For a support Ganyu, however, you mainly want to focus on your energy recharge. Try to aim for maybe about 160 to 200% ER so you can spam your burst, as it is possible to have 100% uptime with it. Moving on to artifact builds. For a reverse melt comp, I recommend the Shimenawa's Reminiscence 4-piece set if you still don't have a Wanderer's troop set, as farming for Wanderers is just a pain. Do take note that using this set will lock your burst, so it's not ideal for use in freeze comps. You mainly want crits and elemental mastery subs for melt comps, so definitely try to farm for those. For main stats, make sure you have an attack or EM sands, a cryo damage bonus goblet, and a crit damage or crit rate circlet, depending on what your build needs more. If you do happen to have a better Wanderer set, then definitely go for that, as the 4-piece of the set is Ganyu's most flexible set, as it can be used for both freeze and reverse melt comps. For freeze comps, I recommend the Blizzard's Rare 4-piece set, as the extra crit rate gives leeway in your builds, as it allows you to build for maximum crit damage instead of balancing both crit rate and crit damage. However, I don't have the set currently, as I don't use freeze comps. If for some reason you still don't have any of those, then a 2-piece Glads or Shimenawa along with a 2-piece Blizzards is also fine for a main DPS Ganyu. For support, however, you mainly want to use Noblesse Oblige, 4-piece with ER sands and subs, and maybe some crit rate depending on what weapon you're using. Moving on to her weapon choices, as you can see, I got lucky and was able to pull Amos Bow, which happens to be her best in slot currently. But if you don't have it, a Skyward Harp or a Refinement 5 Prototype Crescent is also fine for free to play if you have the builds for it. As R1 Crescent isn't that effective, and I'd rather recommend an R1 Hamayumi instead. For 3-star options, you can use most of the 3-star bows as their substats and passives work really well for Ganyu's kit. For support Ganyu, I recommend either the Favonius Warbow or the Sacrificial Bow for their energy recharge subs and passives that work really well with her. And lastly, for a totally free-to-play choice, I recommend the Windbloom Ode for reverse melt comps. For Constellations, you don't really need any of these as a free-to-play, but if you really wanna sim for Ganyu hard, then I recommend getting and stopping at C1, the Dew Drinker, as it helps her damage output a lot while giving her free energy every charge shot. The other Constellations are also pretty strong, but C1 is a good stopping point, especially if you aren't a whale. For whales, however, C2, the Auspicious, gives an additional charge to your elemental skill which doesn't make any significant changes but allows her to have better energy regeneration and safety when firing her charge shots. C3, Cloud Strider, adds 3 levels to your elemental burst. C4, Westward Sojourn, gradually increases the damage taken by opponents standing within the range of her burst by 5%, which increases by another 5% every 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 25% increased damage taken by opponents, which is helpful for both main DPS and support Ganyu. The Merciful adds 3 levels to your elemental skill, and finally her C6, the Clement, causes the next Frostflake arrow shot within 30 seconds to not require charging. This is arguably her best constellation as it saves time charging and skyrockets her DPS, especially on reverse melt comps. Starting off with her most viable and most used party setups or team compositions. Both reverse melt and freeze comps work wonders on Ganyu. A reverse melt comp works really well against single targets, especially bosses, due to its high burst of damage if you can reverse melt consistently, especially when you take note of the fact that Ganyu can reverse melt both the bloom shot and the bloom of her charge attacks. Her reverse melt comps has many variations, but most of the time it consists of Xiangling because of her consistent pyro application, the name buffer like Bennett, and a resistance shredder like Zhongli or a 4-piece VV Animo character. A freeze comp, more commonly known as Morgana, is good for groups and some bosses as frozen enemies can't move nor attack, making this comp ideal for people who wanna stay safe, especially with Ganyu's abysmally low defenses. A Morgana comp mainly consists of Ganyu, Mona, Diona, and a 4-piece VV Animo character, but there are some other variations to it. A freeze comp has the most consistent DPS due to her high crit stats. There will be a separate video uploaded on this channel regarding her team comps and specific characters and builds, so please look forward to that by subscribing and turning on that notification bell so you can get updated on our latest uploads. And that's all for the guide, and now without further ado, let's proceed with the showcase.
My heart rages Chen in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, know I'll find you in my dreams. I'll find you in my I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to